Who's the defensive coordinator for the Canes? Oh,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I hate to condemn Manny Diaz. He looks like a good guy. He seems like he says and does all the right things about, well, you know what? We're concerned about academics here. Yeah, sure. Maybe you need to get unconcerned, man. Throw all the books out of the football dormitory there, except for the playbook. I mean, the worst tackling team in Division I football. Penalties and stupidity. Just all over the place. Then on top of that, you're going to get that thing they stole from Flavor Flav and put it around a guy's neck when you're down 17 to a crap team on the road, and you finally get a fumble, in some fluke play. Some fat guy falls on the ball, and then you got to hang this chain around his neck that has like a grandfather clock attached to it. Disgrace all the way around. I mean, think about it. Schnellenberger, he would have sent the house. Jimmy would have sent the house. You think Jimmy's going to count Mississippi 1, Mississippi 2, Mississippi 3, Mississippi? Oh, look at that. We didn't execute the play properly. That really scares me more than anything in life. Never mind losing all of your money gambling. Is there anything worse? You open the fridge door thinking you're going to shove that half a cheeseburger that you had left over, and you took it with you, even though you probably were going to have to put it in the drawer and eat it again. You open the door, the refrigerator door, and you're thinking you're just going to put something in there from, because naturally you didn't even bother to check in. You already ate something before you got to the hotel. And the minute you open the door, like a slot machine, the wheels start turning.
Yes. Yeah, don't even bump into
$17. I mean, you may as well just buy your drinks on the plane. $17 for a little tiny, thing of vodka? You got to be kidding me.
It's almost like, that thing.
M&M's, $20 a pop. I mean, who's making the prices there? Joe Biden? What is that? Don't gamble in anger.
She hit the daily.
Very calm. Think it through. If you need a little help, don't gamble in anger.
I get a panic phone call, and he says, "Do you have any extra cash?" I go, "Yeah, I brought money with me to Atlantic City." He goes, "Well, I can't get any more out of the card because the Mustang went wild and emptied the daily allotment of cash."
Double nickels, man. She went for a nickel on her card and a nickel on mine.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Just fantastic to be with you here on Ion Channel, the Defo Show. I'm Jeff Deforrest, along with Mike Lubie. Lubitz, a special holiday weekend edition of the Defo Show, and we're very happy to have you on board here on Ion Channel, and our thanks, as always, to the good people that operate the Ion Channel, Jack Namer, Amy, and all of the good people there, Brad, Miguel, and the people, Doug, we've come in contact with, as we've really kind of grown in a short period of time, like Lubie Lubitz.
Yes, sir.
As we come to you post-Thanksgiving. How was your Thanksgiving celebration? I know the Lubitz family really gets into it, and I would imagine there was some excitement over the football games, although it probably isn't quite like at the Deforrest household, where everybody's trying to get out on the last game of the evening. It's like trying to get out on a Pro Bowl after you've lost a Super Bowl and you've been getting bludgeoned all season long across the NFL wagering boards, and then all of a sudden you figure, oh, yeah, I've been losing all year, so I'll probably hit this game. And you're all in. It's Johnny Chan on the last game. So that game with the Buffalo Bills, New Orleans Saints probably meant a lot more financially to many, many people than perhaps either of the first two games did, which most people were inclined to say, I will not watch one split second. Did you do it? Did you find yourself watching a little Lions-Bears there? Let's face it, you watched the kickoff, did you not? And you stuck with it the whole way?
I don't stick with any game all the way because there's always a lot going on, but I definitely at least watched a little bit of it. Thanksgiving was great. My mom, again, went insane. She's mastered the turkey, which is something a lot of people struggle with. They make it dry. She finds a way to make it both moist and hot, even though she's cooked it like for a day. And everything was tremendous. And then we went to Shirley's parents after and had some fun there. So it was a good time. How was the Deforrest Thanksgiving?
Well, it's great. My son Jesse and his lovely wife Kelly, they do a tremendous job. And Kelly's mom, the lovely Susan Chaka, and Stan, I mean, they are as reliable as it comes when it comes to any kind of family affair. They really have it well organized. Of course, it's always a pleasure to see the grandkids, Liam and Christian. Christian actually smiled at one point when somebody was taking a picture of him because he had a present in his hand.
Of course.
And that's the other thing. I mean, is Thanksgiving a time to give gifts? I thought that was Christmas. That was Hanukkah.
Exactly.
But kids are now expecting gifts on Thanksgiving. In fact, they're expecting gifts every time I show up at the house. That's the way it is right now. Hey, Grandpa Defo, you got anything for us? No? Okay. We'll see you in a couple hours. Enjoy the dinner. No, fantastic. And I love Thanksgiving. I love the food, and everything that Thanksgiving is all about. And I kind of like the spirit of the thing. And then I love the fact that you have, as we've been saying all week long, pumpkin pie, parlays, and point spreads.
Exactly.
And wow, I mean, we wanted to come to you today as a very special edition of the program. And who wants to work on Thanksgiving weekend, right? You're off Thursday, you're off Friday, you're off Saturday, you're off Sunday.
Yes.
And it gets back to an old thing here, which I'm not sure. I mean, we're new with Ion Channel, but this was always an age-old question, and it occurs to a lot of networks whenever they're scrambling around on Super Bowl Sunday. How do you counter-program the Super Bowl, Lubie? What do you do?
Nothing.
Do you end up running an endless loop of Godfather movies? I mean, almost anything you can to counter. Who's going to be tuned in to anything else but the Super Bowl? And the same thing happens with this audio and video streaming. I mean, how do you counter program what's going on Thanksgiving Day? You almost can't, and or the subsequent days thereafter. But there was just too much on the plate today, literally, no pun intended, to let this opportunity to be with you go, including a lot of college football that's on tap and very meaningful stuff that's happening over the weekend. Now, I know you like this development. Actually, I'm not sure if you like it or not, Lubie, because it's often difficult to judge where you're coming from, and you do waffle back and forth on a lot of issues. But how do you feel about this whole Cincinnati thing in the college football playoff? Because that's going to be an issue for the next couple of weeks. I guess there are a couple of ways where Cincinnati, even unbeaten, they have to beat East Carolina over the weekend and then come back and win their conference championship game against Houston, which is quasi top 25, like number 24. Yeah. East Carolina, known as the pesky Pirates. And I don't know, you were probably too young to remember this, but I remember it semi-vividly. But in 1983, the great season that Howard Schnellenberger had the Cinderella year, it was the pesky Pirates of East Carolina, an unknown commodity, thought to be just a schlepper, run-of-the-mill team that nearly upset the apple cart and derailed the Hurricanes' chances. I remember Beverly Schnellenberger was on the sideline, and at one point she took that beautiful hat that she was always wearing and threw it down and was stomping on it like she was Steve Spurrier with a visor. The very dignified Beverly Schnellenberger. Howard gave her credit for everything. Well, if it wasn't for Beverly, I would never be a coach today, and I wouldn't be half the man that I am. We love Howard. May he rest in peace. We lost a lot of good ones this year, Lubie. A lot of good ones. But they nearly lost that game. I mean, it was coming down to the wire. I was standing on the field. I happened to be pretty near Howard and Beverly Schnellenberger. I don't know how I got that close to the coach, but I was supposed to do some post-game stuff down there on the field in the immediate aftermath. And so I'm standing there hovering around the Hurricanes bench, and the panic that had afflicted the Hurricanes, that they were about to drop this game to what was literally, Lubie, a relatively unknown commodity. They didn't come on until a little bit after that, the East Carolina program, and they had their ups and downs, as this type of program has a tendency to do, where they're good for a couple of years, but then they're going to get socked with a problem because they're not able to keep the same level of talent flowing in there when they have limited number of scholarships compared to the big schools. So for them to pull off this upset would have been monumental. The Hurricanes rallied late, got like a funky play late in the ball game to win the thing, and the rest is history. But East Carolina is next in line for Cincinnati, and then they have to play Houston. And if they win both of those games, you would have to think that they make it into the Final Four there, the college football playoff, and make history in the process, although it's a relatively short history with the college football playoff system, but this will be the first time that some powerhouse Power 5 conference team was not in the Final Four. Now, that's saying a lot because you have Oklahoma State. They're one and the same, and they have a matchup coming up.
Yep.
And that's going to be a big determining factor as to whether or not they make it into the Final Four. And then, of course, a big one, which are you on board with me on this? It seems too simple, doesn't it? You watched Ohio State annihilate Michigan State. I mean, this was never a contest. They blew them right out of the water, much like Gonzaga did to UCLA in basketball the other night, a 1-versus-2 matchup. And they were up 20 points within a couple of minutes. I watched the first half of that game. I wanted to see what Gonzaga had. I didn't see much. What's going on with that 7'6" guy? The second coming of Sean Bradley, who actually has some athletic ability. I didn't see him in action too much in that ballgame. I don't know if he even played.
And they're loaded. I mean, they brought back the Tammy kid.
Yeah.
That was like the player of the year last year. So they had their class was nuts. The best class.
He's like an Ernie Grunfeld type, huh? This guy, Timmy.
Timmy. Sorry, Timmy.
Timmy, yeah. Tammy is his girlfriend.
Yeah. he does everything kind of guy. His defense isn't spectacular, just like Ernie No D.
He doesn't look like he's not like one of these guys that you look at and you go, "Wow, there's a striking athlete." But
Well, he's not
he's a heck of
athletic.
a basketball player. Yeah,
He's a fundamentally sound dude.
But they blew away UCLA, and UCLA, of course, that was a rematch of the semifinal game last year, which Gonzaga ended up winning that game and then losing in the final round. And UCLA, very good team, but they looked like absolute garbage in that ball game the other day. So that was college basketball. But the college football thing, what do you think? Michigan, Ohio State, all the signs point to Ohio State. Yes. They crush Michigan State last week. Michigan has had its struggles. They're not a terrible team, but Jim Harbaugh has had zero luck in this spot. He's been unable to beat either of his arch rivals, and he is 0-5 against Ohio State so far.
Yep. And he struggled against Michigan State again this year when Michigan had a lot going for. Michigan State was a newcomer with Mel Tucker. I mean, they've been in the playoffs, actually, Michigan State. But with Mel Tucker, people had them out. They only won like 2 or 3 games last year. And Michigan State went and took on Michigan and beat them. And then going to Ohio State, you would think, okay, they'd be right there with Ohio State. That was a disaster. Like, Ohio State not only beat them, their now Heisman frontrunner retro freshman quarterback had like 6 touchdowns in like the first half. Like, it was the kind of thing you don't do versus an FCS team, let alone a top 10 team. So it really has pushed Ohio State right there to like 1B.
Very impressive. Yes. Very impressive.
I think what they're going to do to Michigan's not even going to be fair. Like, I think they're just going to annihilate them. And I'm curious what that does for Michigan, because Harbaugh, if you win 10 games and you finish top 15, you don't usually fire that guy. But he can't be.
No, I can't imagine getting fired, Jim Harbaugh, at this point.
If
he loses to Ohio State, I mean, Ohio State, that game against Michigan State, you talk about the so-called alleged statement game, which I'm not necessarily a big believer in, but they did make a statement that, hey, watch out. It was kind of like that old thing about FSU, you're your alma mater, where at the end of the year, no matter what their record was, everybody was saying the same thing. Well, I want to play Florida State at this point for the national championship, and it doesn't look like you really want to play Ohio State, even though they incurred a loss earlier in the season. The weird thing is, let's say Michigan wins this game. Does Ohio State drop out of the equation? Yeah. Let's say Michigan wins a close game. So you would have number 5 going against what is now number 2 in the college football playoff. Is that enough with 2 losses to knock Ohio State, as they say in dog racing, OOP out of picture?
I don't know what you do. If Alabama...
Let's say the game's close, like a 1-2 point game, and Michigan wins a thrill-in Manila type of ball game. Late with a field goal, and the rest of the game is highly competitive, and it's a great ball game. Who's going to want to see Cincinnati over Ohio State?
No one's going to. Round? But then I don't know what's the point of like we've talked about. Like, if you're going to have Cincinnati be in the top 5 for the last month, finally in the top 4, and all they do is win, you can't put a 2-loss team over an undefeated team in. Like, then why even have the playoffs? Why have the group of 5 even be eligible then? Like, at this point, if you are undefeated...
Well, supposedly they're using some kind of, large permutation of mathematics to figure out, whether the team is worthy, which, in and of itself, if you're going to use sabermetrics to qualify or quantify something, that's not a bad idea. I mean, to actually say, all right, well, this team with 2 losses actually was a way better and more accomplished team than the team that went undefeated.
Look, I'm sure Ohio State with 2 losses and Bama would both kick Cincinnati's ass. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. But then that means Cincinnati can never get in. So then why put them in the top 5 or put them in the top 4? If you're pretty much saying we always think the Power 5
just admit it's a joke. Yeah. I mean, that's what you should do.
Doing. Like, why waste all of our time with this stupid thing every Tuesday?
Yeah. Who needs these rankings? Who needs Jerry Palm or any of these nerds that track this stuff and go, well, you know what? If Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State and then Cincinnati loses to so-and-so, you might not need to go through all of these equations that you have to come up with to try and figure out who's really deserving of being there. But very interesting weekend on tap here. So you're expecting, and we had the professor on one of our podcasts giving his selections, and he expects Ohio State to easily cover this point spread in the game. And he's saying that you can't lay enough points with Ohio State to dissuade you from going ahead and jumping on that bandwagon. And that's certainly the way that it looked. I mean, if you were just looking at the recent block of evidence, you would have to think, wow. I mean, that performance against Michigan State was a real eye-opener.
Well, Michigan State was for real too, and that's the thing. Like Michigan, I don't know what they are, but Michigan State's defense is really good under Mel Tucker, and Walker is a beast, and they just extinguished them. Like they were running up and down the field on both sides of the ball. Ohio State early in the year, the defense wasn't really good. They made a change with who was running their defense, and it's been lights out the last month or so. And their offense has just slowly gotten better. And yeah, their one loss was to Oregon, but it was like the second week of the year where redshirt freshman CJ Stroud was just getting his legs. I don't think Oregon beats Ohio State right now, and that's what a lot of people are thinking. So to me, I don't think we have to have all these machinations. Like I think Ohio State's going to win, and I do think the Alabama-Georgia game is the one that's going to be interesting because right now Alabama has a much better offense than Georgia. As good as Georgia's defense is, their offense is sort of and you're going to 25 points isn't going to beat Alabama like it did Clemson when they had 10 points.
The committee has to be very concerned, hoping that somehow Alabama beats Georgia to keep their compact, their secret compact with Nick Saban under wraps. Otherwise, that may get exposed that no matter how many games Alabama loses, they're still going to be in the Final Four because St. Nick wouldn't have it any other way. And who wants to piss off those boosters from Tuscaloosa there? Those guys, man. I mean, they could do anything in a form of retribution for being stiffed out of the college football championship. So if Georgia somehow loses to Alabama, they're more than justified in putting both of those two teams into the college football playoff. Georgia's been dynamite all year long. Had a very narrow escape there. There was no indication in that early season game against Clemson that this was going to be the case, that they were going to absolutely completely disseminate and, take apart any other team that they played during the course of the year. But they have been clear-cut number one all season long. And if they lose to Alabama, you're thinking both of those teams are definitely in the college football playoff. And, you're going to have Ohio State in there if they beat Michigan. And maybe Cincinnati gets a shot. I believe in Cinderella stories, Lubie. I like it. I told you, I made the equation earlier in the week to Andy Ruiz going against Anthony Joshua, a fat, short Mexican heavyweight, which there's really no great distinction for Mexican heavyweights. I have a poster somewhere in the house here of a fight I called at the very beginning of the Biloxi casinos. There was a Casino Magic there. I don't know if it still exists. I want to say yes to that. And it was the first of the casinos that were on the barges there. A couple of friends of mine put on a boxing match. They somehow talked the general manager into staging a boxing match that featured Hercules Mike Weaver against the reigning Mexican heavyweight champion. And the guy's name was Ladislao Mijangos. I would have given you a 2-to-1 price to beat Ladislao Mijangos with him as a prohibitive underdog. He had a record of like 22-15, which seemed to be trumped up on Tijuana cab drivers, much like the assertion was about Julio Cesar Chavez. And went in there with like absolutely no shot. But Ruiz had no chance against this guy, Anthony Joshua. So you're thinking, when you're looking at it on the surface, Cincinnati going in against any of those other three teams, talking about Ohio State, Alabama, or Georgia, you would have to think that this was going to be blowout city. But maybe you get that result, that surprise result, where they get knocked around for a little while, and then all of a sudden you hear the chants from the crowd, Rudy, Rudy, Rudy.
They get up off the mat.
And they take on the golden aura of Notre Dame and somehow find their way back in and actually win one of the semifinal games. But our good friend Tony Segreto, who's with us on Old School with Tony Segreto every Wednesday here on Ion Channel, he's on that Orange Bowl committee. I'm not sure which game they have among the championship games. Do they have one of these semifinal games?
One of the playoff games.
They have one of the playoff games? Okay, so nobody wants to have that Cincinnati game.
That's problem.
Unless Pete Rose is coming to town. I don't think they have a big travel contingent there with the Cincinnati Bearcats because they're not used to this sort of thing. And if they get into a big bowl game, I would imagine whoever's hosting that big bowl, well, those tickets go anyway, right? Do they sell just because it's a so-called semifinal championship game, or you're going to look around the house there and think that they may want to tarp some of the seats?
Remember,
right, where they block off entire sections so it doesn't look like a disaster. Oh, no, those seats have been blocked off on purpose. Right, but they just don't want to make it look like a catastrophic result at the turnstiles there, as nobody comes out for that game. I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing Cincinnati get in there. I love the idea that maybe they could do something. That would be nice. We'll see how that plays out with a lot of college football action taking place over the weekend, and of course another slate of pro games after the Turkey Day trio. You still have 12 games
That's crazy.
Coming up in professional football, coming up on Sunday, as we're into appropriately week number 12 of the NFL season. So we'll get into some of that as we continue here on this fine Friday. Once again, we hope everybody had like a tremendous Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And the season is on now. I mean, does anybody get back to reality at any time between now and December 25th? I know Hanukkah is like right around the corner here. Isn't that like tomorrow night or something?
Starts next week. Starts next, I think, next Friday.
But it doesn't draw. I mean, we're Jewish, both of us, but it doesn't draw the same kind of galvanizing, thing that Christmas is when it comes to celebrating holidays, because it's spread out over 8 days. It's not like anybody's going, oh my God, I can't believe it. It's only 2 days to Hanukkah.
Well, you're actually it starts this Sunday, November 28th. Good job.
I told you it was right around the corner, Lubie. I know my Jewish heritage here. You're the one, Mr. Super Jew, that's supposed to be on top of this stuff, and here I am, more aware of it than even you are.
But Hanukkah's never like Hanukkah is fine. We do the lights and it's cool, but it's not the same thing as Christmas. Like the way Shirley and her family
mad dash to the stores,
do these lists, and it's like lists. Like everyone sends a list, and it's like this ridiculous ass list. They're like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "Shirts." I don't know. Like I'm a grown ass adult. Like my family
socks. Always socks. I get socks.
I don't know.
I get socks in the sock. Right? They have the stocking there. And there's like 2 pairs of Argyle socks that I never wear. Incredible. All right, so we're in the holiday season here, and that's always a good time for us. We like to celebrate here on the Defo Show, and we're celebrating this new relationship with Ion Channel. Relatively new. It seems like we're veterans here on Ion Channel already, and hopefully we'll continue to grow in the the factors that we have had going for us so far, and just continue to do good things here with Jack Namer, Amy, and the whole crew at Ion Channel. We'll continue this edition of the program here, your post-Thanksgiving special on Ion Channel on the Defo Show. I'm Jeff Deforrest. He's Mike Lubitz. Don't forget, I mean, wow, what a great way to celebrate Hialeah Park. Would that not be fantastic? Get out to Hialeah Park. Champion simulcasting room. I love punching away on the holidays. They do have the simulcasting going, and it's always a great place to hang out. Great food and drink. I mean, you're looking for something post-Thanksgiving. How about Hialeah Park and all of the fine dining they have going on there? And a lot of good special events coming up, including the Larry Little Hall of Fame banquet. That's always a gas. I think we're going to be going to that. And then they have the golf tournament after that. You can participate in that. That's a lot of fun. A lot of great celebrities. Wouldn't you like to go ahead and play around with like Ted Hendricks, the Mad Stork?
Yeah, for sure.
That would be a heck of a lot of fun. Yeah, he has like an oar in his golf bag. He doesn't even have like a 9-iron, just an oar. Hits that thing, it goes flying. It's amazing. And who's going to question him? Hey, Ted, I don't think that club's legal.
No way.
Likely to turn around and swing it at your neck. I mean,
Exactly.
plus he's huge, the guy, and it's still in pretty good shape. But no, that's just one of many great characters that are part of the whole Larry Little thing at Hialeah Park. That's a lot of fun. And then the handicapping contest, I want to emphasize this for our buddy Frank Fiore and all the people there at Hialeah Park that work so hard on these kind of things. That's December 12th. It's a $500 buy-in. You get a $300 bankroll. That's your money to play with and keep. And whoever comes out with the most money ends up the winner, first and second place. Going to get tickets, and this includes airfare, hotel accommodations, and an entry into what would normally be a $10,000 buy-in, Lubie. Wow. A $10,000 value entry into the National Handicapping Championship. That is the big kahuna of handicapping tournaments. It's out in Las Vegas every year. Attracts so many different people that want to get involved in that sort of thing. And then this is a way to win your way in without having to put up to 10 dimes. All you have to do is enter for the 500, and then the winner also gets 50% of the prize pool, which is 125 of your $500 entry. So check it out. The entry form is right there at HialeahPark.com. All of you horse racing degenerates out there that think you have an edge over the other guys, these other guys are suckers. Get involved. Evan pulled it out. Our friend last year, he won the seat. He's going this year. Another free trip to Las Vegas for 2. On the last race, he went all in, and he won, and that was it. He was justified, and it turned out that his opinion was right, and it sent him to Las Vegas for another freebie trip. In addition to winning about $6-7 there on site at the tournament. So very exciting. December 12th, Hialeah Park. Make sure you make your plans to get in it. The entry is open right now, so get involved early before they have to cut things off, if indeed there is a limitation on this thing. And just check it out at HialeahPark.com. All right, we'll come back with more here on this fine Friday edition of the Defo Show. Ion Channel, Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubitz with you, and back with more in a moment. Now that I was wondering if you'd be ready with that. There you go.
Time.
It's a little bit odd, it's the holidays. We're still sorting ourselves out. What a hangover I have. My God, Lubie. All right, it's time to get into some pro football.
Party.
Destination Sport Miami is here to revolutionize the sports landscape in South Florida. The largest indoor multifaceted sports complex in North America is on the way, with distinguished leaders of its various sports programs and unparalleled access to the finest indoor training fields and facilities. Destination Sport Miami will set South Florida apart as the destination of choice for elite athletic training and development, and for its dedication to youth programs and sports on all levels. A phenomenal concept and a powerful undertaking, Destination Sport Miami will also be an important commodity in the sports business community as well. Destination Sport Miami, its time has come.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. What if I told you you could go to a great restaurant, feel completely safe because their COVID protocol is unmatched, have an amazing meal, have a great time. When the bill comes, you won't get sticker shock. You're going to say, that's too good to be true. No, it's not, because I'm talking about Texas Roadhouse. Great family atmosphere, great atmosphere for a couple, great atmosphere if you just want to go by yourself and watch a game and have the coldest beer in town. And while you're doing that, have the best bread in town. All at Texas Roadhouse. Everything you get there is fresh every day and made sure it's served at your table, hot and ready to go. And the best part is you don't get sticker shock because the prices are amazing. Texas Roadhouse.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into court without an attorney? So why would you go up against an insurance company without Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa? 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Give them a call at 954-809-8752. Why go up against insurance companies alone? You can have Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa on your side.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Hey, it's Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet here for my friends over at Shenanigans Sports Pub. It's a great place to go to take in a game, a good meal, and a couple of drinks. My friend Patrick, he's been doing it a long time, and he's got 2 locations. West Side is right across from TY Park in Hollywood. And then the East Side location is at 1300 South Federal Highway in Dania Beach. Shenanigans is the place for wings, burgers, barbecue, fresh fish, anything you want, drink specials, late night dining, outdoor dining. It is the place to go, family friendly. Go to Shenanigans and tell them the Gambling Gourmet sent you.
Either way, if they can get the right guy to fall, like, could be a coup. So there's a few guys around that area that actually could be really good if they get the right guy, honestly.
It's now time for the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show, a special edition of the Defo Show here on ION Channel on this fine Friday following Thanksgiving. Hoping everybody had a marvelous time. Lubie, I'm glad you and your family, things worked out very well there. There wasn't some kind of violence or
No.
anything out of the ordinary taking place at the Lubitz household. When you guys are watching football, it does get a little bit strange.
Yes.
But FSU wasn't involved, so I think that's a good thing. And, of course, they have their big game against what should be, I don't know, how do the Florida Gators respond? Were they anxious to see Dan Mullen go? Do you think the players, did you hear anything about any player rallies? Well, we want the coach back. I can't believe they fired this guy. We love him. We're playing this one for you, Danny boy.
No, there wasn't a lot
Didn't
of that.
hear any of that sentiment being expressed, but I don't know where that game is going to go. Florida, you would assume Florida's a better team, but all of a sudden you're in love with Mike Norvell. That's the big in-state rivalry game. It's taken place over the weekend, and yet the luster of the game somewhat diminished by the fact that the Gators stink.
Yeah.
And that Florida State probably isn't a whole lot better at this point, although they seem to be
On the come, I guess.
they seem to be maybe on the rise. We don't know. I mean, we thought that a zillion times about the University of Miami and Manny Diaz. It looked like things were going to go well. They'd go on a long winning streak. They'd beat a few significant teams, and then right back into the old crapperoo there is where they ended up. We did have some selections, and it was kind of interesting. Lubie and I do a show called After Hours, which is kind of after this one, and it's After Hours on the Believe Podcast Network. It's just a little short thing, having some fun with. And a friend of ours got us involved in that, who we met on various Radio Row episodes, and said, why don't you guys join us and do something here? So we had that lined up, and we are honoring the commitment there. So one of the guys that's on the Believe Podcast Network, and actually how we got introduced to the guy that runs the whole show, a gentleman named Bron, was Brandon Lang, who's featured on the Ion channel. And yet, I mean, the good news is that the parameters, the guidelines here on this type of streaming of audio and video are not nearly as restrictive as they would be on terrestrial radio.
Thank God.
But that podcast that we had with Brandon Lang this past Wednesday, and you can check it out for yourself. I mean, it was bordering on the last tango in Paris. I'm not sure that was my cup of tea, that material, but we asked for it and we got it, right? I mean, always involving Asian ladies of the night, and I mean, a variety of things that normally would not necessarily jive with what would be considered good family radio.
He did get
TV in this case.
In the middle of all that. So.
But he gave us some selections, which were good, and he gave like a zillion selections. But I do have, and our handicapper is usually with us on our Degenerate Friday show, and they weren't able to be with us today, but we did get their selections. So we wanted to pass those along, and I'm not sure if I have any strong opinion about most of these. The professor who does college football for us and has been really just on fire all year long. He got touched up a little bit last week.
Yeah,
and we're very transparent about the record that these guys achieve. And it's not easy. I mean, they're picking games way in advance. Sometimes the spreads are a little bit different than they actually go off.
He got screwed because of the Oregon game. Like, who thought Oregon was getting points? Like, they were the number 3 team in the country, getting points versus Utah, who was top 25, but not elite. Like, yeah, Cristobal tends to.
A lot of people got destroyed on that game. Yeah.
Yeah, they shouldn't have. If they were going to
Mario Cristobal, his whole career was destroyed.
But they got hammered. Like, that's where he got screwed. Otherwise,
you would have never thought that was going to happen like that, right? I mean, that just didn't seem possible. And I watched the beginning of that game. Utah's up like 14-0. I went out, walked the dog. It was 28-0.
Exactly.
And I didn't take them that far. Skippy, I'm watching the game here. I got money on it. Skippy, do your thing. Do your business. And I may as well have taken a dump there, too, because I kind of liked Oregon. All right, so the professor this week, and this is an early one, tipping off early, right? Noon on this day, San Diego State and Boise State. And the professor liked San Diego State in that ball game. He liked Iowa getting 1.5 in their outing. Also, Ohio State over Michigan. And I believe that line was 8.5. We talked to the professor. So, that's a lot of points to lay. And he's been cashing all year with Wake Forest.
Yes.
Which they do score a lot of points. Now, where they're coming, off a loss?
Yeah.
And, they're kind of, been exposed. I mean, they give up a lot of points also, but they have a high-scoring offense. So, professor liked Wake Forest in their game this week. And then, of course, Mark Lawrence, World Championship handicapper, and he with the theories. Now, I cashed last week on the show when I said that his first theory that he would unveil would be the Exxon Valdez
leaking oil.
Teams leaking oil. And he went right back there again with his college selections. And he likes Rutgers. Who likes Rutgers, man? Not even Greg Schiano would be betting Rutgers. 1.5 they're getting against Maryland. That takes some serious That takes some serious chutzpah, does it not, to give out Rutgers on the air here in any type of situation when they're not getting like 21 and a half. And you have to love a guy that does like research and tries to dig out a game where he has an advantage, where maybe you looked at the line. This is an old polyman theory. He judges point spreads by what he thought his own kind of morning line would be, if you will. And if he sees a game that's way out of whack with his own opinion, then he's inclined to take the side whichever happens to be the most out of proportion with what he really feels. In other words, if he thought that, let's say, Middle Tennessee State should be a favorite over FAU, and then he's more than happy to take 3.5, which is where Mark Lawrence was on a Middle Tennessee State FAU game. That's Florida Atlantic for the uninitiated. And your man, Willie Taggart, who you were all over when he became the coach at FSU.
Yeah, well.
All over it. You loved it. That's a brilliant hire here. Where was he coming out of? South Florida, where he'd won like
he was coming out of Oregon. He was coming out of
Okay, that's right. A very brief tenure there, by the way.
Yes, he had a year there and did a good job.
Why was that tenure so brief? Because he got his dream job at FSU?
Yes, FSU was literally his dream job, and he loved Oregon, but the only job he would leave for was FSU, and it's now been a steep decline. He was a disaster at FSU, and right now he's sort of a disaster at FAU.
Schnellenberger had some success at FAU. I mean, he put the program together, Howard Schnellenberger. And, it's part of a remarkable college football career where he had built 3 programs from literally dust and turned them into either national champions or contenders, and also possibly, I don't know if you call Louisville a perennial power, but they're at least a perennial factor in college football. They usually have some pretty representative teams. They've had some real big star players. Going to Louisville, they were nothing when Schnellenberger became the coach there. And then he comes to FAU, and literally people thought he was smoking weed out of that pipe. Like a strain of Jamaican marijuana that even people with medical cards couldn't get their hands on. Where are you getting that stuff from, Coach? Because he said that within 7 years, FAU, I remember doing an interview with him when he became the guy that was going to orchestrate the launch of this program and then also become the head coach. And it was about 2 years away, and he said, within 7 years, we'll be competing here with Florida Atlantic for national championships.
Yeah. He was a little wrong there.
Howard, I mean, come on, man.
They're making
it was a tough blow what happened in the USFL and that Oklahoma thing. We never doubted you, my friend. You're a man of great character and dignity. I mean, they were accusing him of having a flask in his inside jacket pocket and taking a couple of nips there as he was going down to Nebraska year after year. But he didn't last long there, right? Did he only have one season at Oklahoma, Howard Schnellenberger? That was one blot on his resume.
Yeah, for sure.
Of all the things that happened. But a great architect of programs. And he got FAU to the point where they weren't anything big, but they were going to some bowl games. They were having some wins there that you otherwise would have thought were very improbable. So you have to give him credit. And other than that, only Lane Kiffin really had success there. And it was brief.
Yes.
And he managed to cash in on that because Lane Kiffin, as the professor pointed out the other day, to us. He has Peter Principled himself into being the lead candidate for every job that's available in college football by not necessarily doing anything so great to distinguish himself because he left FAU at just the right time. They were about to go into decline, right, Lubie?
Yeah. And Ole Miss, he's Ole Miss top 10, but it's not like, they're competing for a championship. But Lane always fails forward fast. You do have the NFL games for Mark Lawrence, and also I have Lang's plays if you do want to give away Lang's plays as well.
Okay, well, some of those took place already with the Thanksgiving games, but Mark Lawrence liked the Colts over the Bucks. He had a wild theory on this, and it was the double shot in the arm theory or whatever. What was that theory? I don't exactly remember the precise description of it, but we called it the Dr. Fauci.
Yes.
The Dr. Fauci theory, where you get the double shot in the arm. But he was saying that the Bucks, bolstered by this big bounce back win that they had after a couple of rough goes where they had losses, that this big win over the Giants is a bit fugazi, and that the Colts, they had that guy Jonathan Taylor. Nobody talks about him, right?
Yes,
Jonathan Taylor. He may as well be the second coming of Jim Taylor, the great Green Bay Packer.
Yep.
Because wow, this guy is sensational, is he not?
Yes. He was
very rarely talked about. The Colts pretty much OOP since Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck left the organization, and they were barely visible when Luck was there. So yeah, not exactly a team that's always in the spotlight, the Indianapolis Colts, but this Jonathan Taylor is sensational, having kind of an MVP season. And he likes the Colts. The Colts have been coming on, Lubie. They are not to be overlooked. Anyway, they go against the Buccaneers, and that was Mark Lawrence's pick. And then he also liked Minnesota coming off that dramatic victory over Green Bay. And you would have thought that game was at Lambeau, but it was in Minnesota. But the crowd, very Green Bay favorable. And, every time Green Bay did something, you heard a lot of cheers going up. That's got to be particularly disturbing to those people that are frozen eating walleye in Minnesota, suffering through those Minnesota winters. And you can't even get the local crowd to root for your team. And he likes them over San Francisco, which is a tough team to gauge, is it not, the San Francisco 49ers? Have you got a handle on any kind of, activity with the 49ers? I wouldn't know which way to go with them. They were impressive last week, but they played like some schmenk team, right?
Yes.
The 49ers beat up on some cupcake, NFL cupcake, if there is such a thing.
Yeah,
So those were the selections of our handicappers. You got the Colts, Minnesota in the pros from Mark Lawrence. College games, San Diego State. You have Iowa, Ohio State, Wake Forest, and then Mark Lawrence likes Rutgers and Middle Tennessee State.
Well, what I have for Lang,
teams getting points.
Not Thanksgiving related. In the NFL, he double dotted with Lawrence. He likes the Colts over Tampa Bay, which
yes.
Parlay man always loves. Two people, someone you respect. If they agree with you. In this case,
it's a double affirmative. It's a double shot in the arm theory.
I got two people that are big in this game that like the Colts over the Bucks. He also liked Minnesota over the Niners as well.
Okay.
So that's another double affirmation. He liked the Steelers getting like 4 and a hook, I think, over Cincinnati. So the Steelers, when they've been the underdog, when they've been the favorite, they haven't covered. When they've been the underdog, they have
covered every game. So, yeah. And the other is in reverse. Yes. They're 9-1 in that spot. If you bet them as a favorite, you lost almost every time. And if you bet them as a dog, I think you covered every time.
And the other game, so he liked the Steelers over Cincinnati. And then he liked the Rams getting, I think it was 1 and a hook in their game. And then college, he liked ECU getting 14 over Cincinnati, getting points. And then Boise State, the reverse of one of our other plays, where I think the professor likes San Diego State. He likes Boise State.
Yes, that was a direct opposite. They have crisscrossed on many games. Brandon Lang. So somebody in our contingent of handicappers is going to be right about that game. So we gave you a winner.
There you go.
And that's the way we're going to end this thing here this morning, Lubie. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for joining me on this day after Thanksgiving. I would say 12 pounds would be the estimate. 12 pounds is what I now have to lose after yesterday's activity. And it's not going to be easy with a refrigerator full. Freezer's full, the refrigerator's full of all of the leftovers there from Thanksgiving. Great, great stuff. All right, you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. We'll be back in action and ready to roll with 5 days a week here on Ion Channel. Our thanks once again, and we give great thanks to Amy, to Jack Namer, to Brad, and also, wow, I mean, you got to thank everybody. Doug on the radio side, audio side. I mean, he set this thing up, and then we haven't seen him since. It's fantastic. Talk about a guy that's a smooth operator, the old Charday thing. Really, really great. And great to be with you here on Ion Channel. We look forward to big things happening in 2022. Lubie, you have a great weekend.
You as well,
And
sir.
I'll catch up with you on Monday. And people out there, thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you check out some of our other fine sponsors here. Deal Volkswagen, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Great place to go in the post-Thanksgiving aftermath there and pre-holiday when you're getting into Hanukkah, Christmas, New Year's Eve, and all of that stuff. Don't forget about Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. And of course, Gulfstream Park. The championship meet is up next at Gulfstream Park. So we're looking very much forward to that. Thank you, people, so much for joining us here on Ion Channel. We'll see you next time as we leave you know that. It's time for a great weekend, everybody. Have fun.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.